Hey, what's up, y'all? How's it going? Peace. I just want to see what it's like to go live on YouTube at this time. I want to know if anyone is up and if anybody is watching. Let me see here. All right. This is more like a test than anything. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm actually ready to go to bed. In fact, I'm not gonna keep this live. I gotta make sure I close this live out. But I wanted to see what it's like to come on YouTube at this time of night, just out of curiosity. I got a little time, even though I are ready to lay it down for the day. This was a long day. This is a long day. I really should be asleep. Hold on 1 second here. Let me see. Yeah, today was long. This year, and especially this year is almost like hurry up and come. Like I don't think there's ever been a year, maybe, I don't know, that I can remember. I'm sure, but I feel like this is a year that I'm like, you can go ahead and finish. I'm ready for the new year already. Like, go ahead and just be done. This year is keeping me on my toes, stretching me more than I've ever been stretched, and it is just such an interesting reality. Oh my God. I think tomorrow I'm going to sleep in. This week, Mercury went retrograde, and I really feel like, man, they always be like, you need to get as much work done as possible before Mercury retrograde, excuse me. And, I would kind of dismiss that, but this time I'm like, oh my God, yeah, because it's just, buckling down and getting things done is more challenging, than just a few days ago, a few weeks ago, Chow, I'm over here. I'm yawning. I was gonna go into talk a little bit, but I think I'll talk a little. I'll talk a little bit, but then I'm gonna wrap it up quickly. I really came on here more than anything just to see what it's like. I want to come back on here around like midnight and see what midnight is like versus 2 a.m. But I really was just curious as to like who, or not necessarily who is here, but more so like what is the activity like at this time of night. Do people actually come on? Do they watch? I was just curious. So I'm gonna keep it short instead of being on here long. All right, but this live is titled "The Leap." What nobody tells you before you jump. Okay, so this is late night, just out of curiosity, testing. You can call this market research. A really short, brief market research. Because I'm ready to call it a night, okay? I figured if some people had came on, I'll probably have a little bit more energy. But now I'm like, no, I'm ready to go to bed. And I'm definitely going to delete this live after it's over. And I'm going to try this again another week night, probably like a Monday. I'll probably go live somewhere between 10 p.m. and midnight. And in fact, I will go live a few times between 10 p.m. and midnight. So I'll probably go on one time at like 10 p.m., another time at like 11, and then another time at 12 just to see, look at me. My eyes are watery. Y'all, it is time for me to go to bed. But anyway, let's go. So, like I said, I wasn't going to go live tonight, right? It was just something that just said, just check it out, see what it's like, at 2 a.m. And honestly, I wasn't obedient. I was supposed to jump on this live a long time ago, and then I kind of got distracted, right? But those those of you, that's why I'm yawning right now, because I was supposed to do this a long time ago. I was supposed to do this. I'm gonna say it was about midnight that I wanted to go live, and instead I just got distracted and found myself doing everything other than what Spirit told me to do. Um, but it's all good. So, like, most people who know me know that when Spirit does talk to me, I listen. Tonight I was not as obedient as I do my best to be, but here I am. Here we are, late night, just me and whoever is supposed to be in this room right now. And if you are watching, go ahead, drop your name and let me know that you're here. Let me know specifically, like, what city are you in? I love knowing who's in the space with me. I love knowing who's here. So if you are here, look at me, it's just yawning like crazy. Oh my God. And I just realized, like, oh my God, I'm going to have to twist my dang hair because I can't rest until I twist my hair. Oh my God. I thought I could get comfortable, but I can't. In fact, I'm going to prepare to lay down for real officially while I do this with y'all. Okay, so while I talk, I'm going to twist my hair up so I can get ready for bed. Because Lord knows I am ready for bed. So yeah, like I said, I wasn't going live, but here we are. Okay, and I want to talk about the leap tonight because I don't know about in your life, but definitely in my life, a lot of people that's a ongoing discussion. A lot of people in my world specifically are taking the leap. They are going against the grain. They are doing something that everyone in their world would go against and tell them absolutely not. That is a no, right? You do as you are told, you do as those before you have done, and you work for other people, and you get that security, that check every 2 weeks, and that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are walking away from that, and that is extremely scary. That moment when you decide to stop standing at the edge and finally take the leap. Oh my God, I remember when I was at the edge contemplating taking the leap, contemplating the jump, and constantly pushing it back until it got to a point where it was just like, I just no longer can do this. You know what I'm saying? And that's where a lot of people are standing right now. They're standing at the edge. They're standing at the edge. Either they've made the decision and they're waiting for the right moment, or they're thinking about making the decision, or they have made the leap or about to make the leap, or they just put in their 2 week notice. You know what I'm saying? And they ready to jump. Some people put in their 2 weeks notice before they even plan to put in their 2 week notice. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. But anyway, um, that's just the moral of the story. A lot of people are there, they're at the edge. And there are things nobody told us before we got there. And that's what this conversation is about, okay? So, first and foremost, God is good. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for being here. Thank you for being able to be alive and well and to have good health, to have a good sound mind, body, spirit, and soul. God, I just say thank you. We say thank you. We honor you. We honor you in this space. We honor you in our lives. We honor you within. And we just give thanks and all the glory to you, dear God Most High. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you for those who listen to this message. We thank you for those in the space and in the room. May they be blessed. May I be blessed. May we all be blessed. May our gifts be amplified. May our purpose be clear. May there be clarity. And may this word find whomever it's supposed to find. So, believe it or not, I was a teacher for 2 different school boards. And believe it or not, I've made the leap twice. The first time that I made the leap, after 3 years of working as a full-time teacher, I was at the point where I was like, I knew that it was something that was really harmful to my spirit. I don't think then I would have been able to put it into words like I do today, but I just knew that it was harming me. And of course, a lot of people close to me didn't understand that. They felt like it was a risk, it was a horrible risk, and it was a bad decision to, even entertain the idea of walking away from, security and a 9 to 5, even though it was harming me in ways that were detrimental to my well-being and my existence and to my health. They just felt like, you chalk it up, you do what you got to do, and even when feeling harmful or feeling like you're being harmed, then you should still, push forward, keep it chucking. And so, whatever. I stayed as long as I could until I couldn't anymore. The school year came to an end. I literally was like dragging literally to the finish line, to the end of the school year, and just I remember that so distinctly of like feeling like, man, I don't know if I could continue to move forward with this without dying, because that's how much it was like killing my spirit. I didn't think I would make it to the finish line, and every day that I arrived to work, it was getting harder and harder and harder. That's one of the indicators too, when it's just like your time at that space entity is over and you have overextended your welcome. That is one of the ways that you can know, because it's just especially if at one point you were like happy about it, when you start dragging into a place, I mean, what I'm saying, you're there on time and you still late. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to get out your car. You got to walk around the building listening to meditation music, have your headphones on, doing unusual things, so that you can be able to function. That's when you know it's time to go. So ultimately, I left and I started, a company, and started working for myself and building that company, and learning things, making mistakes, picking up, part-time mentorship positions, and just navigating a new terrain, but not really utilizing my time wisely, and also just, feeling like I had arrived, right? Because I, started living this life that was ideal to me, but I hadn't put in all the work, and there was a lot to be done and a lot to build, and I did do a lot, but I also think I took a lot of time for granted during that time. You know what I'm saying? Like when I look back in hindsight, that's how I think of that situation. Let me close this out. But yeah, so anyway, long story short, I ended up going back to work because I had, I just got too comfortable, wasn't budgeting properly, blah 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 blah. And honestly, like I said, when I look back in hindsight, going back, even though I appreciate that experience, um, going back, I wouldn't, if I could do it again, I would have believed in myself and just started showing up for myself differently. And that's the one thing I feel like I did not do, that I do today. Like, I really, but also this phase of my life is really requiring that I show up and that I remain disciplined. And this is a very interesting season. So everything happens how it's supposed to when it's supposed to. But man, let me tell you, uh, that's the difference between then and now. And so I went back to work for another school system, and man, uh, I think that one was by far worse than the first experience. I thought the first experience was bad, but what I do appreciate about it is because I had the first experience, I was able to identify what I was feeling this time around. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt this before. This is unusual. Like, I shouldn't feel like that. And especially this time around, starting off with a new state of mind, actually excited about the job, actually, after, looking for work, I was excited. Like, you would think like that I would have kept that level of happiness, but it just didn't work out like that. I was just like annoyed. But like I said, if I could have done it all over again, I would not have went back to anyone's job. I would have really just locked in and focused. But I didn't know, or at least I didn't experience what I've experienced now. And that was I feel like one of the reasons why I had to experience what I was experiencing at this new school system, because it made me very uncomfortable, and it really got me to the point where it was like, hell no. Like, if I gotta go and live in a box, then so be it. Like, like, this is like me selling my soul for $1 when I'm unhappy and I feel undervalued, and it just was not a good situation, and I really disliked it a lot, to the core of my soul. So um, I guess I wouldn't do it all over again, because I had to go through that to get to the place that I was the second time around, when I decided, no, I have to do it. And I heard God tell me to leave a long time ago, and I just ignored it. It's not necessarily ignored it. I just failed to obey, and do what I said. And the reason why I failed to obey was because I was focusing so much on money, and like, okay, well, I just need like, one more check, two more checks, three more checks, and I need to do this X, Y, Z, da 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 da, and then I could leave. But in hindsight, and I would have managed my money a little bit differently, and I did good. I got it the second time around. I did a lot better. You know, Still made some mistakes, and definitely there are things I could have done better. Like, if you are working a job, then you should be making it really work for you. Not just about like paying other people to do the job and delegate for you, because that's a part of it, but also making sure, like, you're putting money aside, but then finding ways to invest that money so that money could grow for you. Because I definitely put my money into savings, and I put money aside. I did really good with that, but I didn't put my money in places that could really grow, you know? And because I didn't do that, it was like, when it was all said and done, like, that money I had, when life started doing this thing, and I made the decision to actually leave, it was like, it almost felt like that money was nothing. And I did good, you know? So, hold on one second. Yeah, so with that being said, uh, I went ahead. Oh, I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Remedy. I'm a music performing and recording artist. And I'm also the founder of Gym Culture, GEM Culture, a youth organization for girls where we empower girls to power the world. And I was just talking about how I personally took a leap, and I took a leap twice, and that second time that I took a leap, I was getting to the point where because I took a leap the first time, similar situation, similar employer, I but this time a lot more extreme. It made me incredibly uncomfortable to the point where like God was making it clear, like your time here is up. You need to jump. You need to get up out of here, and you need to get up out of here now. And you need to do what I'm telling you to do, and you need to do what I'm telling you to do now. And not just because I'm telling you to jump, but also I have things for you to do, so I need you to jump so you can start doing my work. And I was just very cautious and definitely very afraid. Like, and I remember what it felt like to be on that edge, And so that's like the basis of like what tonight is all about. It's me being raw and being honest because that's the foundation of everything. Just being honest about the fact that like I took a leap ultimately before I was ready. I ultimately got to a place where I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish up this school year, and then I'm gonna leave. Then it was like, I'm gonna finish up this school year, and then I'm gonna leave. And I'm like, no, it went from I'm gonna finish up the school year to I'm gonna leave in whatever date. And then as we got closer to that date, there it was like, first of all, the job was becoming more demanding. I was pulling my energy back more and more and more. The more I put my energy back and called my energy back, the more the job was like like leaning forward, trying to get me to actually like give more energy. It was so crazy. And ultimately I made the decision that I was like, no, like no, 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 like, and so that's where I was until finally we had a meeting, and they was just trying to add more on the plate. That was it for me. I had already consulted with two medical professionals, as well as a therapist, that all were like, "You need to leave." And even after them telling me that, I still stayed. They were like, "Yo, you need to go now," because it was really negatively impacting me, really bad. Like, I'm in a situation now where I have left the job. I'm rebuilding, restructuring, building infrastructure. Yet my skin is so clear. I don't always have all the money that I would like to have, but and I might even stress a little bit, but it's like my skin still stay clear. My mind is still like that level of stress that I felt, I no longer feel. And it's very interesting, and those are like the telltale signs, like, because your body talks to you, your body lets you know you have to listen. So ultimately I jumped anyway. Before I had the money, before, I had like, I had a plan, but my plan went left after I left, um, and I had to ultimately give myself permission because everybody around me was telling me no, that was the wrong thing to do. So I had to lean in on like what I was hearing, what I knew, what I was feeling, despite everything, around me. And so like this is my raw and honest, uh why can't I find it? Because it's 2 a.m. It's after 2 a.m. This is my raw and honest thoughts on this experience and on taking a leap, you know, and being true and overstanding like this is the foundation of our conversation. So, the leap is not going to ever be as clean as it looked from the outside. But here's what I do know: you cannot build in the air what you fail to prepare on the ground, but you can still ground yourself in building a foundation as you build up into the air, even if you take the leap and not be prepared. Because sometimes you do have to take the leap at that moment, even when it feels like you don't have it. Even if you're not clear, even if it's scary. But I will tell you, if you are thinking about taking a leap, you could do it differently, where instead of building from nothing, you can go ahead and start building now. You know, um, you know, talent is a great thing, but you want to have talent and be prepared by building an infrastructure. And I recognize that a lot of people do not know or have not been taught how preparation looks for music artists. you know and so that's one of the things we want to like talk about. It's 2:30, so I'm only going to do like a few more minutes and then get off this live, right? But I just want you to know that, first of all, the first thing you want to know is who you are before you take the leap. Okay, we've been talking a lot about identity on Global Thursdays, which is a live that I do weekly on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is like so beautiful, these conversations around identity. You know, the leap amplifies everything, right? It's going to amplify your gift. It's going to amplify every gap in your foundation. If you don't know who you are before you jump, the fall is going to define you instead of the flight. So I'm letting you know, I know this from experience, because after I jumped the first time and, had to go back to work, I took that very hard. I found myself to be a failure. And I just found myself in like, woe is me all the time. And I really did like define myself for a minute. Like, I didn't really like say it to myself, but energetically I felt like a failure. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want identity to be something that you figure out on your way down, although it could be a thing that happens if you jump um, without building proper infrastructure. But I'm not going to tell people not to jump if you're being led to jump, because that's what I did. But if you are on the fence, you know, and you want to have some type of infrastructure, or you would like just wondering like, well, what do you mean by infrastructure? You just want to have some things in place, so as you take this leap and you continue to build what you're building on, when opportunity presents itself, you'll be ready versus having to get ready, right? So your identity is the thing that is going to carry you when you go up. So you want to make sure that you're clear on who that is, right? Number two, this is leading into like the leap requiring that your affairs be in order. But I just want to say that that's not always necessarily true, even though ideal. Okay, so if you're somebody watching this right now and you're like, well, I already jumped, well, congratulations. Okay, I'm proud of you. You feel me? I'm not gonna be the one to make you feel bad or look bad or anything of that sort, because that's what I did. I thought I had things in order, but things failed. But when I'm talking about like, having things in order, I'm talking about, certain things that will help prepare, propel your music career when you take the leap. When you decide that you want to take this seriously, there are things that you can do right now to get things in place, not eventually, but before, or as close to before you can take the leap. But if you've taken the leap and you got some cash, and this is what I would advise you to do with your cash. And if you haven't taken the leap, if you have taken the leap and you don't have the cash, then you focus on what you can control. You do what you can do in the meantime, and then like the other things would be just learning, putting together a checklist, which I actually did for you, of like things that you need to get in place and start preparing for those things. So when money do come in, you could do it. But your music do need to be protected. Your brand needs to be protected. And so the moment you create something, it belongs to you. But belonging and being protected are two different things. So Registration makes it real in the eyes of man's law. Okay, your songwriting and publishing needs to be registered with a pro like ASCAP, BMI, CSAT. Pro stands for Performing Rights Organization. They collect your performing rights royalties for every time your song is performed, played. It's also being performed, right? So this is important so that when your music plays, the money that belongs to you actually finds you. You also have like the MLC, the sound exchange, and things of that sort, where you want to register your music. You also want to make sure you copyright your music, etc., right? You also have an EPK that needs to exist so that when opportunity knocks, you have something to hand to the opportunity, right? Um, your website is one home that you own on the internet. I love that the website is really essentially your home. You know, when you buy a house, like that's yours. I want you to think of your domain as the same thing, and your domain is always looking for like a what you call it, a lot, right? And that would be like your hosting site that will host it so it could live there, so it could exist there, and so that it could stay there. And that's important because like when these platforms go down or they decide to change up algorithm and now your people can't find you, or just for any reason, you know, the beauty of having your own website is that your people can always find you. Okay, so you want to definitely have a website. You want to have like, depending on like what you're doing, you know, especially if you start dabbling into content, you want to have a media kit. You want to have a portfolio. You want to have these things ready, and these things like the EPK, even a website. You could get a website for free. These things don't cost you money. You know, they can cost you money, but you can use things like Canva. You can use things like WordPress, whatever other site that's free to host for you, or to create. You know, even like joining your pro, depending on what pro you join, that could be free. Like ASCAP right now is free if you join as both a songwriter and a publisher, whereas BMI is free when you sign up as a songwriter, but they do charge you $250 one-time fee to become a publisher. Okay, so like these, you know, you have to move in a way that is most beneficial to you and utilize your resources. Now, again, back to your website. Your website is not written from like an algorithm. It's not subject to a ban. It's yours. Your email list also, which you house either via your website or a third party app like MailChimp or something like that, or third party website like MailChimp. These are very important. Your email list is the only audience you truly own. You don't own the followers. You don't own the subscribers on YouTube. People who said yes to you directly and join your mailing list, these are people that can always find you and stay connected with you as long as they remain on your mailing list, okay? These are not optional things for you to do. These are parachutes. These are things that you absolutely need when you take the leap. So you want to make sure you have that parachute instead of like on your way down, you're looking for the parachute, you know. Trust me, it's no fun. It's no fun. But like I said, if you're in it, you're in it. You just got to keep moving. You got to do better than what I did the first time around when I just wasted a lot of time, you know. You got to use your time wisely and you got to just put your ducks in order as you, since you have now taken the leap. If you have yet to take the leap, you're on the edge, or you think about it, you're contemplating, then these are things you want to do while you are gaining the courage to jump, or before the universe does it for you. All right. Another point is between the decision and the landing, there is a quiet space. Okay. Most artists call it confusion. They call it being stuck. They call it wondering if they made the right choice. That space is not failure. Okay. That is formation. Even if it is failure, failure is not bad, guys. I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, my loves, failure is a part of the process. Okay, that's the ebbs and flow of life. You are going to fail in life. The objective in failure and taking losses is to minimize your loss, right? To have risk management. This is why I'm telling you that if you have yet to leap, you want to put as many ducks in a row as possible before you do so, so that your leap is not a bad. But I also want you to know that you can plan and plan and plan and plan, but if God has other plans for you, I just want you to brace yourself for that, okay? Because you'll be like, oh, I got all my ducks in order, and your plan go left, and you go into a shock because you really just thought that everything was gonna go your way, and so you should brace yourself for the potential that things may go left or right or or messy, scribbled, okay? So just know that failure is a part of the game, and failure is actually formation. Failure is actually you getting in position, all right, and learning from your past so that when you move forward, you could do it right. So every artist who has ever built something real has spent time in this in between space, this quiet space. Okay, the leap will put you there. The preparation is what gets you through it. Okay, the preparation is even when you have made the leap and you don't have it, the preparation is what's going to guide you through this phase as you go into your next phase. Okay, so it's not too late. All right, and the identity work, knowing who you are at the core, that is what keeps you from unraveling while you wait for the landing. All right, and lastly, the sun does continue to rise on the artist who jumped and who plans to jump and who will jump and who has jumped. Earlier today, that was what the title of the live was about for Global Thursdays. The live was entitled Artists, the sun, no, the sun still rises on the isolated artist. That's what it was called. Okay, so today we spoke about the sun rising on that isolated artist. Right now I'm bringing it back around. Okay, the sun does not discriminate between the one who leaped perfectly and the one who leaps scared. It rises on both. So what matters is that you actually jumped or that you actually will jump. Okay, what matters is that you answer the call, that you answered. What matters is that when the moment came, you chose faith over fear. That's what's important. All right. So next Thursday, we're going to go all the way into ownership. We have our Global Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, what it means to own it, the room, the identity, the music, the business, the calling. Everything we touched on tonight goes deeper than. I want you there Thursday, July 9th, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And bring someone else with you who you feel needs this conversation, all right? And everything that I walked you through tonight, the protection, the registration, the EPK, the website, the email list, I didn't even dabble into all of the things that you want to protect. I did talk about protecting your brand, right? I put that all into a free checklist for you. And that checklist is amazing, okay? It's the 10 things every artist needs before taking music seriously. It is on my website now at imrimidi.com. It's complimentary, no cost to you, no catch. You just go get it and consider it your pre-leap checklist, your parachute before the jump. Or for those of you who have jumped and you need a parachute, this is a parachute to help slow down that fall so that you don't crash, okay? Now, for those of you who have been in this room tonight or are watching this at another time, I decided, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep this up. Okay, I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to keep this live up, all right? So, because I'm feeling like, no, let me go ahead and keep it up. But yeah, for those of you who are in the room now or you will watch this at another time and something has been stirring inside of you, I want you to know that there is more. Okay, I work with artists one-on-one. I help them build the foundation that makes the leap survivable, that makes it sustainable. If that is something you feel called toward, the door is open. You know where to find me. I am RIMIDI.com. Or you can DM me and send me a message. That's cool too. Reach out. The chasing situation, that's a no for me. I only I attract those who know that they are ready and this message resonates with them. I'm just leaving the light on for you, letting you know that, hey, when you're ready, you could definitely reach out to me and we can have a conversation. I do plan to do a webinar though. That way it's more accessible in all capacities, and it's it's with others, but you don't get you talk to me, but you don't get to verbally talk to me. You'll talk to me in the chat. Whereas doing the one-on-one, whether it be to do, because I have two packages. I have the done with you package and I have the done for you package. So those are like one-on-one consultation where we're talking. But the webinar, it won't be like that. You know what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind. Whichever works for you. Like I said, I've already prepared for you something that will help you, and you don't need me. You just get that checklist. It costs you nothing to download. It does cost you your email address and your phone number, but other than that, like that's it. That's all I'm asking for from you, so that we can stay in touch with one another. But there's no other strings attached to it. Like you don't ever have to get my services if you don't want to, and that's totally okay, and totally fine with me. Okay, so I just want to say thank you for being here and thank you for watching. This was not planned at all. It is 2:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like I said, I was just testing this out, seeing like what live was like on YouTube at night, or the next rising. Like I said, I'm gonna check it out again. I'm gonna play around with the times just to kind of see like what are some other times that I could go live at a time that works naturally for me. Well, I ain't gonna say I'm normally asleep right now because I can be random because I really am naturally a night owl. But the way my life is set up right now, sometimes I do go to bed at a decent hour. Still late, but at a decent hour. But I'm usually not up right now unless I'm working on something and it's keeping me awake so that I can finish it. But I'm gonna be testing out different times and seeing what's some of the better times to come on this live. So yeah, thank y'all for being here. Nothing about this journey since I took the leap has been going according to plan, and I want to normalize that for you. And I want you to know that somehow it keeps becoming exactly what it's supposed to be, and it is my wish that when you take the leap, or if you have already taken the leap, that is the same for you. That is the leap, that is the faith, that is the late bloomer in all of us. Juno, the late bloomer, the LP album I recently released is on my website, IamRemedy.com, and is streaming. They're ready for you. It is also on Bandcamp. Okay, go listen, go share it with someone standing at the edge. Maybe it is the thing that helps them jump. Maybe they'll get inspired by the artist that created it who has taken the jump. You know what I'm saying? And have no plans of going back and moving backwards, only forward movement. You know what I'm saying? I love y'all. Now I'm gonna go rest here, and I hope that you go and do the same. If you're watching during the day, I hope that you are having a fantabulous day or rising, and that you do get some rest when the time does call for you to get it. And tomorrow, take the leap. Whatever it is, take it. This was a cool live. I appreciated this. Like at first I was like, I'm not gonna keep this live, but I think that was because also too I was focused on the numbers. But my my mentors are like always saying, like, don't focus on the numbers, don't focus on who's showing up, you know, like how many rather who's showing up. Just know that it's gonna land, and it's gonna land for someone, you know, and it's gonna land for someone when it's supposed to land for them. So this was a great late night live. I'm honored to have been able to be here and show up in this hour and offer y'all something real. All right, y'all be easy, be easy, be easy. Again, I'm Remedy, music recording and performing artist, educator, and founder of youth organization GEM Culture, GEM Culture, where we empower girls to power the world by creating safe spaces and mentorship. And y'all be easy.